Look, I really appreciate that introduction, and more importantly, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate your leadership. This is a difficult time in America. We see a major pushback on a lot of issues. I felt them when I was mayor, the pressures, the challenges, the fiscal difficulties of the time, but it takes great leadership, it takes great courage to remind us of our values and what's important in our hearts, and what we stand for as a community, as a country. What our values are should be able to withstand even the greatest assaults, the greatest challenges, and the greatest heat. And so I want to just be here for a moment to just elevate these ideals and principles for all of you. Because as a mayor, having to work very hard, and I want to just acknowledge real quick, first of all, I find great friendship with the vice president, and I'm grateful for his commitment to labor. It's wonderful that you all had him here. And then I know after me, Senator Dick Durbin, one of the senior members in the Democratic caucus. I kind of feel like I'm stuck between Harvard and Yale, and I'm the best community college in the country. But I also want to recognize the leadership, I'd be irresponsible, of Dominic Marino, who's the state president from New Jersey, who's somebody that I got to know very well when I was mayor. You see, I had to continue every day when I was leading New Jersey's largest city to try to keep us focused on what was important, keep us focused on our values. And having labor leaders that were your partners through difficult times was something that I found invaluable. Look, we say these words time and time again. We stand up and pledge allegiance to that flag, talking about liberty and justice for all. We talk about these things like a more perfect union. These are easy things to say with rote routine, but the reality is to make them real in our lives takes work, takes sacrifice, and takes focus. One of the things I liked the least as mayor was going to the bedsides of first responders. And unfortunately, as you all know, thousands and thousands of our first responders, firefighters in particular, are injured every single year. And what used to amaze me about the character of our first responders is most of the times I would go to these beds to comfort somebody. I would go to a bedside and have somebody sitting up to offer me comfort, to encourage me, hey, I'm gonna be all right, Mayor. I'm gonna be okay. It was this special value of American character that inspired me to step up. You see, as a politician, I didn't have to do what these guys did every single day. I visited countless firehouses when I was mayor to share countless very unhealthy meals in those firehouses. I tried to make some of my firefighters as vegans like I am, and I almost got into a couple fistfights. But to see the brotherhood and sisterhood of the men, to see how they stood up and stood for each other, to see how they took the level of their commitment and their love of country to a very literal place, knowing that love meant sacrifice, love meant struggle, love meant putting it all on the line. I remember to this day the first fire that I was called to when I was mayor and stood there watching one of our schools burn. And I saw the courage of the men charging onto that structure, trying to protect neighboring community. This, to me, speaks so much to what I was taught about as a child of how our country was founded. Men and women answering the call, showing their courage, demonstrating time and time again what their mettle was made of. We are a country born from that kind of sacrifice and struggle. And what makes me upset as I entered into political office, and now that I'm in the Senate, is to see that we are not respecting that core understanding of what it takes for men and women, not just to get the job done for all Americans, but even more importantly, what we should be doing to support those men and women who are doing those jobs. Look, it is hard enough to fight fires, As was mentioned in my introduction, I have never been more afraid in my life when I found myself seemingly trapped in a structure, filled with smoke, breathing in hot ash. The terror and the fear I felt at that moment is emblazoned on my soul, and I know now more what our men and women go into on a regular basis and the courage that they have. So it's hard enough to do that job. But these days, what frustrates me is that we're asking our men and women to do it while they have to worry about whether they're going to be able to earn a fair middle-class wage so that they can take care of their families, whether they'll be able to exercise. One of the bedrock ideals of our democracy is whether you have the right to bargain for better working conditions. And even more frustratingly, whether you'll be able to even count on fair health care benefits, whether you can plan on retirement security, whether you can afford to send your kids to college and university, whether you can actually hold on to the dream of America as you are serving it. Now, far too many politicians seem to be willing to burden our great brave men and women like yourselves with their ideological extreme views, which to me is frustrating, because when you're trapped in a fire and dialing 911 or screaming for help, you're not thinking about extreme ideology. You don't stop and ask if that firefighter is a Republican or Democrat who's coming to save you. You don't want to know what their faith or religion is. You don't care whether they have a great head of hair like the gentleman to my right or whether they have carefree hair like me. And therefore, what frustrates me is these very folks who should be centrally focused on what's important actually instead are pushing an ideological extreme view that they are now believing that the financial times means that we should balance these budgets not by doing the right thing with fair taxes, but that we should be balancing the budget on your backs. These people believe that you should pay into your pension and pay FICA taxes. They believe that you shouldn't be protected, though, from carcinogens, or should have the right to fight an often unwinnable battle between proving that your illness is somehow connected to your jobs. These are people who believe that vital programs like SAFER grants and other key grants that I fought for as a mayor and now fight for as a senator, like AFG grants, should be there. There are so many of these folks now that believe we should be squeezing in terms of health care, in terms of pay, in terms of collective bargaining, in terms of health, in terms of all the things that secure those people who secure us. This extreme ideology doesn't carry a high-rise pack up 10 flights of stairs. It doesn't disassemble a car from around a victim just clinging to life. It doesn't breathe life back into a child who stopped breathing. We need to return to common sense fairness, and we need to provide our firefighters and first responders with fair wages, fair benefits, solid health care, and a secure retirement. Plain and simple. And so from the Vice President to Senator Durbin to Senator Warren, this is the fight right now in America. Will we protect the middle-class dream, and will we protect it especially for those who protect us? And we need to stand up together to the destructive political ideologies that simply aren't only bad for you in this room and all of our first responders, they're bad for working families, they're bad for America. We are best when we make our middle class strong. And this is the stand that's going to be before us in Washington. And I know that if we stand up for working class, that we will be able to win this battle. But it's going to take work, and it's going to take sacrifice. Look, in the Senate right now, it's a shame that we have to fight for AFG grants and SAFER grants. And I'm continuing to battle every single day for the state of New Jersey, getting the Department of Homeland Security funding for Patterson, or working for first responders in Jersey City, or working for grants in towns up and down New Jersey. I talked just this morning before I came here with officials in Atlantic City, a city going through a terrible crisis with casinos closing, but we cannot let our firefighters there in that town in any way be hurt or injured when they're still being called to the same challenges they were before. My time as mayor may have shown me how important your work is, but now in the Senate, I see more and more that the work we are doing is absolutely critical. And so we have to take the battle everywhere it exists. One of the areas I'm worried about now is just with your safety and work-related incidents. These sort of wins for firefighters have to happen on that playing field as well. You wake up every day to protect your fellow citizens. You deserve the resources and funding and equipment to protect yourselves. It's no secret how dangerous your job is. I hear platitudes about that all the time. We know that tens of thousands of people on duty every year face injuries. Deaths routinely are climbing yearly to about 100. We can do more to make this job safer, and by putting more resources where we need to put them. Less well known to the public are the many dangers you face are issues like carcinogens and the impact of flame retardants on firefighters. There is mounting evidence that these flame retardants can be very harmful to the health of firefighters when they breathe in the smoke that contains them. And so I'm working very hard with my Senate colleagues on both sides of the aisle, working to pull people together to come up with a Toxic Substances Control Act and reform in that bill that will allow the EPA to more quickly and effectively regulate these flame retardants. You deserve to be healthy. And the potential of cancer risks, the more we study it, the more we're starting to understand the challenges that you face every day. For example, researchers at the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health and the National Cancer Institute and the Department of Public Health Sciences at the University of California, Davis just completed a study to better understand the potential link between firefighters and cancer. The study focused on nearly 30,000 firefighters from the Chicago, Philly, and San Francisco fire departments who've been employed since 1950. This is what their study concluded. Firefighters had more cancer deaths and cancer cases than they initially expected. The increase in cancer was primarily due to digestive, oral, respiratory, and urinary cancers. They were about twice as many malignant melanoma as cases as expected. Some cancers occurred at higher than expected rates among younger firefighters. For example, firefighters who were less than 65 years of age had more bladder and prostate cancers than expected. The findings suggest that firefighters are at risk of cancers at a greater level than the general population. Among the 8 types of cancers examined, researchers found statistically significant positive exposure for lung cancer and leukemia risk. These findings contribute to the evidence of that causal association between firefighter exposure and cancer. I say that this, not in any way to put a damper on this event, but I say this to talk about the urgency that I myself have seen with too many firefighters in New Jersey. Scientists have said that what we've known for years. How can we find ourselves in a situation now where young brothers and sisters who have gotten cancer are fighting for health coverage and left fighting for recognition that their cancer is directly tied to their service to their community? This is, in my opinion, a national disgrace, and it needs to be addressed right now. We have to put forth an aggressive agenda for our first responders, whether it's their health and safety, or whether it's the clear focus on making sure that the middle-class jobs that we've known to rely on as the bedrock of our country, making sure that those are protected. We have work to do. The American dream cannot be allowed to be assaulted and attacked as it is now. The ideas that shape this country, that has made us the envy of the globe, must be addressed and protected. This is my agenda as a new senator. But I want to end with just this ideal. You see, in many ways, my career, I'm surrounded by firefighters. In fact, my chief of staff right now, I hired him away from being a full-time firefighter in Union County, New Jersey. I'm surrounded by you guys. You guys are good at escaping things, but even as mayor and now as a senator, I can't escape you. My chief of staff has bombarded me with stories of the honor and the truth of what firefighters stand for, and this is what I want to end with. You see, the emblem that has come to symbolize your profession, some people see it as just a design or a logo, but the Maltese Cross is much more and reveals the legacy of bravery and honor that you have safeguarded for generations. I've heard stories about the origins of the cross and found it something interesting to read more about it, but you all know it dates back to the battle for possession of the Holy Land between the Knights of St. John and the Saracens. As the knights fought for that city, they were met with the Saracens' use of fire as a weapon. Many knights found those flames coming at them and got caught and were being burnt alive. But amazingly, in undeterred fashion, their brothers ran into the middle of those fires, in the middle of a battle, to try to save their friends and stop their flames from burning. After the battle, fellow crusaders gave each of the surviving knights who came to reside in Malta a badge of honor, a cross, closely resembling the one so many of you wear on your sleeve or cover your heart with today. I talk about these ideals being American ideals, but we all know they go deeper into the core of humanity. In New Jersey, we've said it in song, this idea that we take care of our own. We must understand that while you all have each other's back and have our back, we politicians in Washington must also now show the same level of courage to stand with you, to fight for you, and to protect what is most precious in our communities. You want to judge the greatness of America? Look at how it treats its veterans, its first responders, its firefighters, how it treats the bravest and most courageous among us. Do we honor them? Do we respect them? Do we protect them? We are in a dangerous place now in this country where we are falling down on that important work of elevating you to the place of reverence that you deserve, to diminishing your quality of life. This is unacceptable. If we are to elevate ancient values and tell great American truths, we have work to do. The fight is before us, and I believe that together we can win. Thank you.